Previously on the Simply Human podcast.
It's such that when at one point a subdivision moved in behind it and everyone's going like, what the hell? They started complaining, and after a couple of years, the local government made the farm put in a perfuming system.
It's like, hey, we were here already.
I know, since 1930.
It's episode 240 of the Simply Human podcast with your hosts, Mark and Rick. Two human beings being human. Our goal is to help you understand how humans are designed to eat, sleep, move, and enjoy, and how you can start living more like a human today. On today's show, it is Kirsten Beverley-Waters, a yoga medicine teacher, fitness coach, public speaker, and author. She's a pioneer in innovative movement methods. She brings a modern approach to yoga's ancient wisdom by teaching movement through the lens of mental wellness, whole body health, and spiritual grounding.
She was terrific.
She was
a great guest. Yeah,
really
fun time.
We're still a little off because of the hockey thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we're still we're recording an interview and then having to do the intro for we're going to eventually get caught up.
Yeah.
But it's working now. We're booking into February at this point. How are you, Rick?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What is your...
Hey, hang on, everybody. It's my world's greatest dad trophy mug.
My parents got me this and my kids got me. What is your worst encounter with West Texas cactus? Do you have any?
When I was I don't know how old I was. I was
6 or 9,
teens.
probably.
I don't get it. When you want to explain?
Those are 8. Those are chocolate. 8.
Oh, okay. I was young. I was probably 11 or 12. I was at Cub Scout camp or Boy Scout camp. I don't know, whatever. And at that point, I thought that the cactus needle was just like one needle and not the 20 or 30 almost invisible hair width needles all around it that are way worse than the big needle. And so I don't know if I touched it on purpose or I just didn't have a proper respect for the plant, but I somehow touched it and I was like, oh yeah, you see in the cartoons you touch a cactus. That's it. But it was getting the trillion little hair that was the worst.
From the one.
I think that might have been my only encounter with a cactus,
and that was just
I have a proper respect for it now.
Well, and that's not like you went up and there were 5 things and you did 5. That was just the one.
Yeah. It wasn't like I fell into a cactus patch like an idiot.
Screenshot. So Simply Human listeners will remember my crashing into a cactus story where I pinned my eyelids shut. Ugh. There's a picture of after I got the first one out and I could kind of see. I thought I had poked my eye out. There's a picture of one of the things still in my eye. Well, that was just that. The big ones are the easy ones, like you were just.
Yeah, you can see them, but it's the super thin ones.
So from head to ankle, I had those. The big ones were pinning my shorts to my body, right? But those were easy.
Yeah, you can see me yank them out. Blink.
A couple of days of I feel another one, right? Of that, right?
Yeah.
My almost
it's like touching fiberglass,
right?
Fiberglass insulation with your bare hands. It just makes you itch. It's really bothersome, and you don't know where you're like. God, I'm itching right here, and I can't see where they are. Yeah.
So my almost 10-year-old daughter Hope has outgrown her little 20-inch mountain bike. She's been riding her mom's, my wife's.
My wife.
Same person.
Who is the same height as your daughter.
Pretty much. And so she's been riding Jen's bike. And so last Sunday, a week and a day ago, the Cowboys were playing on Monday night. Is playing. They weren't even playing.
They were involved in a game.
They were involved
in a
getting contest.
Absolutely just
decimated. We had Sunday to just kind of, hey, the Cowboys don't play. What are we going to do? So Simply Human's own Dylan and his wife, me, and then a couple of the daughters. including my 10-year-old daughter. She's on a bike that's just this much too big for her, on a trail that she's done a lot of times.
Oh, no.
And Rick, I'm proud to say that she survived a cactus faceplant.
Oh.
So I'm going
What
to
is
show
the
you.
matter with you people?
I'm going to show you. This is her
Oh, no.
chin.
Oh, that's nothing.
No, well, no, that's just that was just her face. Okay. Hey, I don't know if you can be able to see this. Her hands.
Yeah, if you hold it still, you idiot.
Hold on. All those little spiny things you were talking about
Oh.
are just like covering both hands. Here's the other one. Here's like a
Poor girl.
look at the little patches of them. There's like 50 of those little things in each of those little deals.
I feel bad for her. I laughed at you. I
Yeah.
laughed in your face when it happened to you, but I feel terrible for her.
I had to cut her shirt off of her because there were so many right in here and she couldn't take her shirt. So I got my knife and like cut her shirt off of her.
Don't show me a picture of that.
Not. She has a little thing that she wears. But so we're like a mile and a half. It's a 3-mile beginner loop, and we're like at the 1.5 point.
Oh, so you're like literally as farthest.
and she's freaking out, right? And I'm trying, and I'm upset not because she crashed, but because you don't want your kids to feel pain.
Yeah.
Right. And so in that moment, I'm just like, oh no, you know. And so I'm having to like wheel both bikes down the trail while she's walking like this, like can't like touch her arms or her fingers can't put together. So she's doing like this. There is this, she has gloves. And right before we left from the parking lot, she was like, Dad, these gloves are itchy. And I was like, well, listen, we're not going to get into a big thing about it. You know the risk if you don't wear the gloves. So if you don't want to wear the gloves, leave them here. She left the gloves.
Ooh.
And on the way back, I was like, Hope, what's worse, the itchy gloves or what you got going on? And she was like, the itchy gloves.
The gloves are worse?
No, like what I meant what would you rather
What would you rather have?
Right. That's how I posed
And I
it.
thought you were going to say, hey, listen, we put on all of our protective equipment when we go and do an activity like this. And if you don't want to put on the gloves, then you go sit in the car and I'll roll the windows up and
The front of the windows up.
come back in like 2 hours.
The helmet is a non-negotiable, but the gloves, it's like, whatever. And so now she's going to wear the gloves. But she made it. And so like on the way back, it's like, you're starting to kind of, as a parent, thinking, okay, you don't want your parents, why do I keep doing that? Your kids to like be in pain, but at the same time, that's how you develop a little bit of character. It's like now she has this story that she like feels empowered by. She face planted in a cactus and overcame it and is stronger because of it. It's like that's a very simply human concept, Rick. That's why I take cold showers.
All right. Well, I guess I'll take my kids to the old cactus patch this weekend and just
you're like on the look kids, look at this scenery moment. Like, oh Dad, you're the greatest for bringing us here. You just like just push
face first in a cactus.
You turn
Rattlesnakes everywhere. Just Mark said it will build character, guys.
And you're walking home 10 miles. Anyway, but I got her like, she sat like in her shorts and her little under sports bra thing. I don't know. And is sitting in the bathtub, and I just got my like surgical grade tweezers, and I'm in for an hour just pulling all those little microscopic hair things out. That's West Texas cactus.
Enjoying that, huh?
Blueberry. I got my Cowboys. I didn't mean to be total
Should have
nerd.
thrown it all away after yesterday.
Cowboys. I'm even wearing Cowboys socks. Anyway, I'm a fan to the end.
You're part of the problem. You're enabling Jerry
I know.
by giving him your money.
I stole this.
Nope. I took it, and so he's
Did
out
not
money.
pay for it. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Let's get to our interview with Kirsten. She is really great. We talked to her about her background, sports missionaries, finding your identity, struggling. How that fitting. Setting your tone for the day, the pandemic, of course, book recommendations, and being in nature. Here's Kirsten. And I'm recording already, so we will have already done an intro like and done like the longer, like kind of the more formal introduction, but we always like to kind of get the guest version of like the Cliff Notes version of kind of how you got to where you are today, sort of your background and all that. So
Yep.
go, what is your story? How did you get to where what you're doing today?
So, when I was 6, almost 7 years old, I lost my father pretty suddenly. And after the loss of my father, I became pretty observant, and I loved being able to see how people interact and communicate, how we move, we breathe, we connect. And so really I tell people that from that point on, I started to, unbeknownst to me, start to really focus on the human condition and how we adapt, how we evolve. And through the course of my life, I mean, as with anyone, we have our personal struggles. So for me, in college, it wasn't hard enough to deal with college, but I was also dealing with my sexuality, so identifying with my sexual orientation. And in that process, I thought that I was going to be a sports missionary. So I was going to travel the world and use sport as a way to connect with people. But I had such a hard time with being like, we can help you, we can do all of these great things, but you have to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, or we won't do it. And it felt very anti-Christian to me. I don't think that's what Jesus did. Jesus like, I'll make bread and fish and wine, but only if you accept
Gotta
me.
do this first.
Exactly. Like,
dangling the fish.
exactly. I don't remember the dangling fish gospel.
Dangle, it's not in the Bible.
No, it's not. And at the time I ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. So it transitioned my schooling. Instead of going to seminary, I needed to spend some time with God and figure out why I was experiencing this. And as a result, I started back at school. I got certified as a paramedic, worked as a neurodiagnostic technician, and dove deeply into the mind. I spent a lot of time studying psychology and working on research projects at hospitals, and then realized that medicine was a little too reactive for me and I wanted to be more proactive. Right. And so that brought me into the world of fitness and yoga. And so now I try to think of myself like on the front lines, hopefully trying to bridge that gap before someone has to get to a physician or get to these points, and help people navigate their personal stories, their struggles, because I believe that our stories become our habits, which become our life. And a lot of us wake up one day and say, how did I get here? And we have to examine those stories, and those stories will change the way we move, breathe, think, act, and live. So
yeah, I love
that's
all
how
that.
I got here.
Yes. Where are you now? I know like you're probably in like a room in your house, but like what city are you in? Like where are you right now? Where are you from?
So I am in Old Orchard Beach, Maine. So it's about 20 minutes south of Portland.
Wasn't that like the first city in America somewhere up in there? Like Old Orchard Beach. That was like, yeah.
It sounds like it, doesn't
it? Right.
I'm originally from like Akron, Ohio. Yeah. So moved here.
Home of the Akron Zips.
Yeah. Those were my rivals though, because I went to Kent State and I taught at Kent State University.
Kent State is where there was a tight end that played basketball at Kent State, and
Antonio Gates.
Yeah, he's like one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Yeah. Play college football. Yeah. So
yeah, we would give people crap because it's like, you play on the football team in Kent State, you don't get drafted to the NFL, but you play basketball.
Right, and you're like a Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, not good. Although there is Julian Edelman for the Patriots, which was the quarterback, and he was a horrible quarterback. So,
so they figured it out. Yeah, exactly. People know what they're talking about, I guess. So okay, you mentioned sports missionary. What was your sport? All sports, or like did you have a specialty? Did you play at Kent State? Did you play something at Kent State?
So I ran. I was a runner. And my father was a runner, so I think that endurance is in my DNA.
Yep. Literally.
Yeah, literally in my DNA. So, but I played basketball and softball. I played tennis. I was always a pretty active child. So really in terms of sport, a lot of times within sports missionary, running is a pretty simple thing that's accessible for a lot of people. Soccer is another one in there that's pretty easy and accessible. So those were the two, like soccer, running. Those kinds of things.
And you do running when you play soccer, so it kind of
Right. Like
kind of goes right together.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we had I remember in high school we had our cross country T-shirt was like, "Our sport is your sport's punishment."
Right.
Which is
Yeah.
true. Like you screwed up, you run.
You
You didn't do it, you run.
Yeah. So what are you doing running when you have to punish? You have to like, all right, you're gonna go over there and play tennis for 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Oh.
Like you're gonna have to run and hold an object. So you'll have to run doing lacrosse, field hockey, soccer. Like that would be our biggest worry.
Well, and you are from up north, and not hockey in Texas to me is like beach volleyball in Canada. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
So I did watch some hockey. I will have to say, and I'm sure I'm going to talk about this with Rick at some point on like in an intro. Hockey players are not human. They're like huge, massive figure skaters with the stick, and they're kicking this thing around, and they're doing all this stuff, and then the refs are like doing all these moves and jumping around. Like the tennis ref just sits in this chair,
right?
And the hockey ref has to be like the best athlete in America, and then, you're that good, you can be a hockey ref in Canada.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I was an intramural sports supervisor in college, and I remember just like intramural like hockey indoor, the amount of times that I got hit with pucks and it's not good. Like, and I just think my mother probably was like cringing thinking about it for all the dental work that she put into it. Like,
right.
And I wasn't even playing, right? Like I'm just trying to avoid it. So it's impressive how they can turn on a dime, what force and power they have. Right. I don't think it's a sport that is appreciated enough, especially not in the U.S.
Okay, hang on. Here's Rick. He's going to want to join in on this conversation. Can you hear us? Are you there?
He's like, no.
Richard, can you hear us? Rick.
I think he's purposely ignoring you.
Yeah, he hears me. He definitely hears me. We heard you, Rick. We can hear you. We can hear you. There's Kirsten.
I cannot hear any of you. I know. Just give me a second here.
We're talking about hockey. Hurry up.
I don't know what I've done here.
Like, see, I have my stuff. And it's just, I never touch it. I just plug it all. I just plug it all back in, awesome. And I never touch any of the buttons.
Hang on.
So we're going to play our fun game. Just a second, which you won't think is all that fun.
Let's see.
Do you have any pets, Kirsten?
I have two. I have a cat and a dog.
Do they fight like cats and dogs? I hear a cat. Whose cat?
That was not my cat.
Oh, that was Rick's cat.
Charlie is the cat, and Charlie will go up to Jessie, the dog, act like she's gonna like kiss her, and then she does like the quick like quack 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 quack.
I believe those are called skibbity paps. Yes. Skibbity paps is what those are called. Rick, come on, Rick, you're wasting our time here. I guess I can go in and edit this out. And thank you for not cussing so far, because every time someone cusses, I have to go in and like edit it out, and it adds a lot to the show. What's happening? You sound like you're on an airplane.
I know. I was like, he's taking off. He's cleared for takeoff.
He's a pilot. We're lucky to have him. Okay, while he's trying to do that, let's continue this. So you said a lot of stuff like in your background that's like, ooh, I want to ask about that. I want to ask about that. But let's talk about like, you talk about understanding your personal identity and kind of the idea of like, you wake up one day and you're like, who am I? How did I get here? And how important that is.
All right, I'm going to get off here and jump back in. Give me a second.
Way to go, moron.
I'm trusting this is not like an elaborate ruse where both of you are like just mouthing words over and over again to make me feel like I can't hear anything. All right, I'll be back.
We're very encouraging with each other. We've known each other since we were like 10 years old. So we're like brothers here. So I guess there's two questions here. Is like for someone like, I'm almost 40, someone in kind of my demographic that's going through that, it's a much different, like you kind of talked about the reactive to proactive. Like I feel like somebody that's like doing that now. You can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
can
well,
you hear me?
Because you are technically challenged, you missed Hockey Talk. We were talking about hockey when you joined, but we moved on. So,
well, all right. Well, I guess just leaving the room and coming back fixed.
Work.
Are you from Kirsten? Are you from Canada?
No, I live in Maine though, so I'm you
Okay.
know.
Pretty much. That's
Black Bears. The Black Bears are a hockey power. Dallas Stars goalie Ben Bishop was a Maine Black Bear.
okay.
Yeah.
Former head coach Jim Montgomery was a Maine Black Bear. Won a national championship there.
Okay, Rick, can
Yes.
you name she went to Kent State. Can you name the basketball player from Kent, the most famous Kent State basketball player?
Kent State?
Yes.
Yeah.
Penn State. It's
Oh,
the
Penn.
no,
Okay.
Ken, Ken. It's a less known college. It's Division III.
It's like saying you're a Rhodes Scholar when you went to Rhodes College. Let's see.
State.
The famous Kent State. No, I don't know.
Antonio Gates, the tight end.
He's more of a famous football player.
Right, but he played basketball.
Right, but he played
did.
basketball. That's how he got. He was drafted to the NFL after playing basketball.
You know, I blame him because the Cowboys held on to this complete total spare named Rico Gathers, who played basketball at Baylor, because they're like, oh, he can be the next Antonio Gates. And they like held him on the team for like 5 years, and the guy never did anything. Except one time, the day before roster cuts, he got caught smoking a blunt in a public park and got arrested. And we were like, well, I guess that's the end of the Rico Gathers experiment. No. They totally let him be on the team the whole year. Didn't see the field at all. But yeah.
Okay,
Thanks a
it's
lot,
all right.
Tony.
We wasted a lot of time on hockey talk. Okay, so back to my question. So there's that two-part. You're kind of in my demographic are older and kind of
Mhm.
assessing who am I, how did I get here? But then also like for younger people, how can you just kind of like be proactive in kind of knowing those things, and do they kind of interact? Kind of a weird question.
I mean, I think we have different identities at different points in our life. I mean,
Yes.
we evolve as human beings. You know, we don't still eat baby food. I mean, maybe you do. I'm a runner, so I'm not gonna lie. I take baby food on hikes because it's easy to pack. No judgment, but you know.
Banana is the best. Banana baby food is the best. So.
But we evolve, and there's going to be different layers of our identity, and I think that we put a little too much pressure on ourselves to feel like I need to find the identity of who I am, and that it's always going to stay the same as we change, as we grow, adapt. But I do believe that like the essence of our being, like at our core center, who we are is unchanging. And that's based, in my book, Struggle Guru, I talk on a compass point. And so finding that true self is based off of like our southern point. So our true self is anchored to the southern point, which is our belief system. Like, what is your core belief system? What do you truly believe in your life? You don't have to have a spiritual practice, but we all have beliefs. And then the eastern practice is your education and your experiences. That might be formal education, community, people you surround yourself with, your day-to-day. And that's going to directly tie to our west. And our Western is our wisdom. Like we develop our wisdom and our thoughts and our process based off of our experience and our education. And all of these pieces are going to create that compass that are going to start to kind of connect the dots a bit for us to see who we are. And if it's not who we want to be, then we can start evaluating what our experiences are, change our experiences, change our belief system, which is a very hard thing to do. Take a look at the current climate that we're in. People don't want to change your belief system, but you can. And then look at your wisdom and start to alter that. And that will help with that identity and adjusting it to go forward.
It's like scares me to think about, well, because you get people that are like, this is me, this is who I am. I'm unchanging. And I think about the different person I am from even when we started this podcast 7 years ago. And I'm like, man, what if I hadn't changed? So it's almost like being okay with, like, I think if more people would go, you know what? That's a good point. I need to really reevaluate that instead of just getting so dug in.
Yeah.
On like, this is me. This is what I believe, no matter what. And like that's where we're getting all this kind of I don't know. I think like dug in and like trench warfare is kind of.
And
like,
even then, like you'll have somebody like who says that like I hate to bring politics into it, but like several years ago, Obama said he did not agree with gay marriage, and then he said he evolved on the position over time. And he really took it in the shorts. Of course, I mean, he took it in the shorts over everything because, of course, but like, oh, he's a flip-flopper. And I'm like, when has it not been okay to say, I have reevaluated and I have changed my position on this particular, why is that a bad thing? I don't know.
Well, I mean, exactly. And to that particular point, I mean, I can think of myself when I was much younger, and I would use terms like "that's so gay" as a very negative thing.
Right.
Well, karma, I guess, hit me in the face since now I'm gay. So booyah! Like, I mean, I clearly evolved, but I was one of the people who was like, "Yeah, that's gay. It's so dumb."
There is something that's kind of in your bio that I want to talk about, because it's something I'm very interested in as well, and it's the idea of struggling, like the name of your book. And like how we've talked about this a lot over the last few years on the show, especially, is that like my grandparents, great grandparents, great grandparents, whatever, like they didn't need to look for ways to like be uncomfortable, right? Like they struggled, they wanted for stuff. And I feel like that's character building, And so nowadays I just feel like, especially with kids, Rick has small kids. I've got small kids all under 6th grade. And like, I'm trying to like figure out, how do I get them to like want and struggle and be uncomfortable. And so what is your, my kids are like, oh, this phone isn't working, but neither is my other phone. Like, so what is your kind of stance on struggling as a positive thing? And then do you feel like it is important to like seek out, especially in times when you're not like necessarily in the stink, as they say, to seek out things like that, so when you do have something bad happens to you, you're kind of like seasoned for it or something?
I think the first thing that needs to be addressed is, like you said, struggle isn't a bad thing. We deem it this awful thing, much like people think the worst thing that could happen to them is they could fail at something, right? Like you fail a test, your life is over. Like as a child, like that's the first real thing. Right. Like if you fail at a sport, and these are teaching moments. And for myself, I mean, as I've progressed through my life, I've certainly looked at struggles and thought, why me? But the question is like, how can I turn struggle from the enemy to my ally? And that's the point of the book, is how can I flip the script on this and realize that by being in a partnership with struggle, that I'm going to develop a greater sense of self, a greater sense of direction. I'm able to breathe, move, act more freely. Right. Because, we like to talk about freedom, but freedom in another word for freedom is called discipline. But people don't like that word.
Right.
Discipline is monotonous, and monotony is this horrible thing, and routine is awful, which is why in fitness, everybody is on this trend of, it's got to be constantly varied, and I always have to do something new, and always has to be fun, and something keeps coming up. It doesn't. Like, stay with the structure of it and the routine, and we can adapt. And I think that's one of the ways, for children, adults alike, in seeking out struggle, start with small things. Everybody thinks they have to take on like this huge challenge. Right. And that small thing might be sitting down and doing your homework, sitting there with your homework and struggling.
That is a huge struggle sometimes.
Yes. It's so
There's a butterfly. Like, no, ignore the butterfly. The math. You're almost done. Do that.
Exactly. Start there. For especially within this generation, put your phone away for an hour. Oh my God.
I know.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate mail.
No.
Well, you won't be able to read it because you don't have your phone. So you won't get a hate mail come in.
Unless people are gonna like get out their pen and paper and like,
I'm gonna get my typewriter down from the I'm gonna get my typewriter down from the top shelf of the closet.
There was a meme that said like, there's a challenge on TikTok for Generation Z to try and write their name without lifting the pen. It said, "Congratulations, Generation Z, you learned cursive."
It's like I've seen the one where they show the kids like the old-fashioned phone where like
they don't know what it is.
Dial phone, and they look at it and they look like it is from an alien spaceship. They like hold it upside down and they're trying to like, where's the screen at on this?
My 13-year-old niece, they were at like my brother and she were at like somebody's house or somewhere, and my brother was like, "Hey, go call such and such." So she comes back a few minutes later, and he's like, "What'd you say?" And my niece was like, "Oh, the phone's broken." And my brother was like, "What?" "Yeah, the phone's not working." So he went over there and like picked it up. It was fine. And he was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "Well, I picked it up. It was making this weird like noise." Think about that.
We are so old.
Dial tone.
Say this.
Yeah.
That makes me feel so incredibly old.
Like, what's this?
You know what though? Kids worried about privacy today. Like, I need privacy with my phone. I'm like, really? Because I could only go as far as my cord would extend from the kitchen to the dining room.
Yeah.
Right? Couldn't even
the dining room, like with the lights off, like, like trying to have a private conversation, and like someone's walking through. I'm like whispering, like, "Hang on, just give me just a second here. It'll be gone in a minute."
Yeah, we could do a whole show just on like. Then you could like pick up the phone in another room and like listen.
Oh man,
to
my
your
parents had
brothers.
this bit where like if you picked up another phone in the house, the phone in their bedroom would just go a very slight ding. So like you couldn't pick up the phone and make a phone call at like 11:30 after everybody was gone to bed.
It would
wake
make
them
the
up.
noise. Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but
You also couldn't sneak on the internet because it was dial-up, and it'd make that about.
it sounded like a robot donkey.
Okay, this leads us to our next game, which is the birthday game. Rick, would you explain? We hadn't played it yet. This is the game we're going to play, and this is going to answer a question too for me. Oh, now I can't hear you. What happened?
He's muted.
I muted myself to take a drink. I don't know how we started doing this or why, but just go with it. Mark and I each get 2 guesses to your birthday, not including the year, just the month and day. Don't give us no poker face, total poker face. We have to know. It has to be a complete total guess, and let the record reflect that I am the only one who has ever done this out of how many shows have we been doing this? Like 200 shows.
This is episode 240.
We've probably been doing this 200 shows, and I got it one time. So
okay, so that you're first.
Okay, and Mark wants me to go first because it narrows the odds for him from one out of 365 to 1 out of 364. So I have to go first. So
she's ready. Look at her poker face. She's in the zone.
7th.
No.
Okay, Mark.
June 29th.
No.
September 16th.
No.
It's Mexican Independence Day, by the way.
I was looking
Dia
for
de Pueblo.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Muy bien. Muy no. I'm learning Spanish.
Very slowly. Muy despacio.
July 8th.
No.
Okay,
right, what is it?
August 4th.
Oh, I knew it was summer.
You didn't know it was summer.
I did.
You didn't know
both
at all.
my guesses were summer. I guessed June and July.
You didn't know it was summer. You had an
knew
idea.
it was summer. I
No,
knew for a
okay.
fact. August 4th. So 8/4.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just gonna do his like
No,
cosmetology.
no, I don't
here.
know. I don't know that. But what? How about this? What year? I want to know because you seem like you're in the same. What year did you graduate high school?
2002.
Okay, so we're 99, 98. Like we're right all. In the
We're all in the same pack
We're
here.
in the same boat here.
Yeah.
Okay, that was fun.
We all watched Friends when it was first run.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talk about struggles and turning those into superpowers. I know we just kind of talked about that, but can you like go into a little bit more detail on like turning struggles into not just like a positive, but like something that is gonna like make your life and the people's around you life better. I said that weird.
So,
You
yeah.
did.
It's going so well. This feels. You want to know about struggle? Here we are.
Right.
We've renamed the podcast now. The Struggle Bus.
Minute 24 of this podcast. Okay.
So in the book, I discuss various types of struggle. So one of the ones, for example, the chapter is the white rabbit of struggle, which is dealing with Alice in Wonderland and time management and the construct of we get so focused on if I just manage my time, then I could be better at eating better, meal prepping, doing more workouts, spending time with kids, insert whatever your priorities are. But really the struggle that exists there is that we think that we need to control things. So rather than seeing time management as this good thing, this particular chapter looks at it as what if it's really an issue with control that we have? Because I certainly have been told before, like, fill out your planner and put out free space time so that you can have time in the event that something runs over, that you could do something else. And what ends up happening is, say I have this beautiful podcast that I have this conversation and I've allotted a certain amount of time, but it bleeds over. Now I've exerted a certain amount of energy to be in this conversation that is going to take energy from somewhere else, because energy, science, right, cannot be created nor destroyed. So it's just transferred. So that's part of the reason for myself. I use morning routines for my fitness and my meditation, because there's no one to disrupt me and I can set the tone for my day. When I was blocking it in the middle of the day, even if I had time, because of all the other things pushing up on that time management, quote unquote, I felt drained and I wasn't as focused and capable of offering my best self into it.
Right.
So saying taking struggle into a superpower is more of, how do I take the biggest struggles in my life and start unpacking them so I could use them to my advantage.
Right. Yeah, it's so good. And we do a little carpooling thing in the morning, and I picked up the middle schoolers go in one car, and then the elementary schools, and there's a family down the street that we all kind of have kids the same age. And the middle school girl that is down the street, she was like crying in a bad way. She gets in the truck, and I'm like, asking my daughter, I'm like, what happened? She's like, well, she just woke up. Like she overslept, and it's like messed her whole day up. So I, like, all the way to school, I told the story, Rick, of when I overslept and took my alarm clock as a senior in high school and walked outside in my underwear and like threw my alarm clock down the street. And then like when I got to school, I started attacking the ducks that were at the pond, and it was this whole thing. So she was laughing, I got her to finally laugh, but it's like, that is so true. Like even at like when you're in sixth grade, if you don't like have that, you said set the tone for your day. If you don't set it, something else is going to set it for you. And then now you're just at the mercy of whatever has happened to you, And so I love that. That's a great point. Let me ask you this, and we're running up on time. How is the pandemic, how has this whole year kind of changed? Has it changed the way that you approach things, or were you just kind of prepared for all this craziness because you kind of have the way that you kind of got your habits already set up?
I mean, I think I'd be a liar if I said that I had it all sorted out, because I am human.
Yeah. I just had my break glass in case of global pandemic thing on the wall, and it finally came in handy.
But thank God. It's always a work in progress. And there are things that I felt really prepared for, or felt really good with about myself, in my profession, in my career, that this pandemic has flipped on its head even more so. So I'll give the example. This year, people more than ever have felt more empowered than ever. Pandemic, plus I do feel some political climate, to express a great deal of hate and threat of violence towards me as a gay yoga and fitness teacher. I mean, I can't even tell you how many emails, direct messages, physical people coming to places I'm teaching I've experienced.
Jeez.
And things I never thought, because, Maine is predominantly a pretty liberal, accepting space. They chose prior to the Supreme Court to actually allow for same-sex marriage. So you would feel like this would be a, quote, safer area. But it has not been. And it shook me. It's shaken me a bit in being able to use my voice. But I've always been an advocate. My mother was a strong, independent, single mother after my father passed, that has always said, never had us back down from difficult situations. So I think that maybe has been the hardest part within this pandemic. Is I believe in the work that I do. I believe in the conversations that I have in this book, these teachings, but it gets a lot harder when there are people every day telling you that you're an abomination and they hope you get COVID and die. So that was not a chapter in my book, how to deal with people wishing your death.
It'll be the next edition.
Right.
The next edition.
That's book number 2.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. That's ridiculous. And I don't want to sit here and bemoan the culture, but like the way the culture is backslid, specifically over like the last 3 3/4 years, has been that now it's okay to crawl out from underneath your rock and act like a complete a-hole. Mark, I didn't say the word, so you wouldn't have to bleep it. You're welcome.
Thank
you.
You.
Now it's okay to scream and yell in somebody's face, and it's
because of the example.
We are definitely not. From that perspective, we are definitely not progressing in a proper direction. I'm really hoping like return of like what we call manners and decorum. I'm hoping that comes back to society here fairly soon. That now but now, yeah, we're in a pretty ridiculous place. So that sucks.
Okay, so there's one question that we ask at the very end, but before that, I don't do this with everyone, Rick, or you'll know that I don't do this. But I'm going to ask you if you had to like recommend like 2 or 3 books to someone. What are your like 2 or 3 books? I know this is a hard one.
That is a very like. Hold on, let me go to my list.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just like it's like in your
it's hard because first of all, I have this conversation with many friends. Most of the books that I read, people don't want to read because most of the books that I read are on like psychology and science.
Oh, right.
They're a lot less exciting, I think, than most people
They're
feel.
not like your page turners you're going to read on the beach or anything like that.
Yeah, I do. Like,
no, probably things like this. I mean, no one wants to read Jonathan Hayes. This is just me. I'm just a nerd. I'm super nerd.
Look at me, everyone. Look at my book that I own. It's got pages and everything. I don't have any books here. No, I don't have a single book in this house.
Yeah, right.
You really want to get into some deep diving into some of the books that I've read. Think of something like Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel, which is about 1,000 pages. And that book equates everything that we've experienced in life comes back to like this power struggle. So again, those are, like then you have like Michelle Obama's Becoming, right? Like, so here's an example of reading them. Yeah, I can't.
You just said 2, and I just said 2 to 3. So I think you
right, perfect. Meanwhile, people are like, this woman has the worst choices in books ever. Three Kings and the Giant Peach. That's a good one.
Ooh, that is a good one.
It's a fan favorite.
Well, when Mark asked me what I recommend reading, I said the Denny's placemat with the maze. On
Rick said books are for prisoners is his line. I'll read if I ever go to jail.
I'll read some books if I go to prison. I'll concentrate on knocking out my reading list here.
You read.
I will say, okay, so I will say Untamed.
Yeah, yes, that's in our house. My wife just read it.
Yeah.
So that's a great one, Rick, if you haven't read that one. Okay, so kbwaters.com, Instagram at kbeverley-waters, Twitter. I'm going to put all that in the show notes. The Struggle Guru, that link is going to be in the show notes. That's the book. So there's where you can find Kirsten. And so what is something you enjoy about life or something you do to make life more enjoyable? That's our
I think what I enjoy most about life is definitely being in nature. Like nature always brings me peace. It's beautiful. It's also very, very true to understanding ourselves. So that's something that brings me a great deal of joy, just spending time in nature.
And there's good nature up there in Maine, has some good nature.
Yes. Mountains, ocean. I'm only 2 miles from the ocean, 45 minutes from the mountains. So it's,
wow.
I can't complain.
See, Texas is so flat that if it's a very clear day and you squint very hard across the horizon, you can see your own.
Rick, you did so good. Right up there to the very end.
Listen, that word is in the Bible, Mark. You don't have to bleep out.
We talked about the Bible before you came on, didn't we?
I'm sure I'd love to have been a part of that conversation.
We used the word dangle in that conversation as well. So you're just going to have to go back and I'll
have to listen.
Yeah, see that. So okay. Kirsten, this has been awesome. Thank you for being right on time. We have a couple of shows that I need to get to. I wasn't saying that you weren't on time.
Okay, yeah, that's there's a tacit swipe at me for not being on time. Don't worry, I was late because I was investing in the lives of at-risk youth in my community. That's why I was late. So
humble brag. Awesome. All right. Well, when this goes up, I will email or I'll email the agent who connected us, and then we'll get all this stuff. There'll be a video version and an audio version. So
that's great. They can really see the joy.
They can see your poker face.
Exactly.
That's true.
So intense.
Very true. They can see Mark always using his hands like he's chopping karate pieces of wood all the time.
I am a blue belt, so
listen, I don't want to get into blue belt over here, guys. So.
Awesome. All right, Kirsten, this has been fun. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
You're listening to the Simply Human podcast.
All right. That was Kirsten. She was great. Next week, we've already recorded it. We just need to do the intro. We have Petya Kolobova from Czechoslovakia. what is now the Czech Republic, and she is just great. We had such a good time with Petya.
Well, you did. I didn't because I
that's right.
got detained at work and I couldn't get back in time to be on the interview.
Yeah, and then tonight we interviewed Brittany Baker, who has a gluten-free online bakery, which is really cool. And so we got them lined up for a while here. So listen to us. Listen to us, watch us, do all the things. We love you, Simply Humans.
We like it better, I think, if you watch us. Do we?
I think people like watching this. We need to have like Chris or somebody on and do like a 10-minute just getting to know our listeners and all that. So anyway.
Yes.
All right. Well, Rick, I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Simply Human Podcast. Wait. So until next time, enjoy it.